Monday morning, your company is worth billions. By Sunday, it does not exist. September 15th, 2008. You walk into 745 7th Avenue. The building is still standing. The name is still on the wall. Lehman Brothers. By tonight, both are gone. $613 billion. Largest bankruptcy in American history. 25,000 people lose their jobs before the weekends. Retirement funds across 40 countries collapse. The global economy enters its worst crisis since 1929. You are the CEO. You built this. You bet everything on one trade. You were warned. You refused to listen. The world calls you a villain. History calls you a failure. You just called it business. Level 1. The King. You run Lehman Brothers. 158 years of history sitting behind your name. They call you the gorilla, not as an insult, as a warning. Your corner office, 31st floor, floor-to-ceiling glass, Manhattan below you. The desk is clean. The phone rings only when it matters. Everything looks stable from this height. That is the illusion. You walk into the morning meeting. 12 senior executives around a mahogany table. Nobody speaks until you sit. Nobody disagrees after you speak. The last person who challenged your strategy was removed within 6 months. Not fired, removed, quietly. Even silence from you moves markets. Your firm is Wall Street's number 4 investment bank. $60 billion in assets, 25,000 employees across 28 countries. You have seen downturns before, crashes, corrections, panic. They always pass. This one will too. That is what you tell your team. That is what you tell the media. That is what you tell yourself. $484 million in compensation between 2000 and 2007. Park Avenue apartment, Sun Valley house. Art collection worth more than most hedge funds manage. You do not think about these numbers. At this level, they stop being money. They become proof. Proof that the system works. Proof that you are the system. But there are rumors. Quiet conversations in hallways you are not supposed to hear. Analysts asking careful questions. Exposure, liquidity, risk. Words that sound technical, but feel off. Not urgent. Not yet. Because urgency would mean action. Action would mean something is broken. Nothing is broken. Not at your level. The numbers still make sense. On paper, you do not build empires to question them. You build them to outlive fear itself. At least that is what you believe, until the numbers stop listening to you. Level 2. The bet. The numbers did not stop listening. You stopped hearing what they were actually saying. The housing market is on fire. Everyone is buying. Everyone is lending. And you see something the rest of Wall Street is too cautious to touch. Subprime mortgages. Not just trading them, not just underwriting them, holding them. Billions of dollars of mortgage-backed securities sitting on Lehman's own balance sheet. Other banks sell the risk, pass it on, get the fee, and walk away. You do not walk away. You hold. Because holding means the profit stays. All of it. This is not recklessness. This is conviction. At least that is what you call it. 2005, record year. 2006, bigger. 2007, the biggest in Lehman's 158-year history. Stock price hits $86. Bonuses the largest they have ever been. You are not just winning. You are rewriting what winning looks like. The leverage ratio climbs. 30-1, then 35, then 44-1. For every $1 Lehman owns, $44 is borrowed. A 3% drop in asset value and everything is gone. Not some of it. Everything. Your risk officers know this number. They send reports. Flagged. Highlighted. Urgent. Default rates ticking upward. Not crashing. Ticking. The way a clock ticks before the alarm goes off. You read the reports. You set them aside. Corrections pass. They always pass. Your chief risk officer requests a meeting. She walks into your office with a folder. Subprime exposure too concentrated. Leverage needs to come down. Models based on assumptions that may no longer hold. You listen. You thank her. She is reassigned within 3 months. Quietly. No explanation. Her replacement does not bring folders to your office. He brings the numbers you want to see. At home that evening, your wife asks about work. You say it was a good day. Your daughter is doing homework at the kitchen table. The house is quiet, normal. a life built on $484 million, sitting on top of a 44-to-1 lever, sitting on top of a housing market that has already started to tick. You do not see the connection. You are too high up. From the 31st floor, ticking sounds like silence. Nothing feels urgent, yet. The best year in Lehman history is also the last good year. You just do not know it. But the clock is already counting down. Level 3, the cracks. The clock does not tick quietly for long. March 2008, Bear Stearns, Wall Street's 5th largest investment bank, gone. Not in months, not in weeks, 72 hours. Friday it was a bank. Monday it was a fire sale. JP Morgan buys the corpse for $2 a share. $2. A company worth $20 billion, sold for the price of a coffee. You watch it from the 31st floor. Your executives, your traders. All of Wall Street is watching the 5th largest bank disappear in a weekend. And everyone asks the same question. Who is next? The market answers before anyone is ready. Lehman stock drops. $86 to $60, then $40, then $30. The number falls the way buildings fall, slowly at first, then all at once. Your phone starts ringing differently. Not clients calling with deals, investors calling with questions, board members calling with concerns, reporters calling with the one word you cannot afford to hear: confidence. They are asking if you still have it. The moment they ask, it is already leaving. You go on CNBC, studio lights, camera, millions watching. You say Lehman is strong, capital position is solid, liquidity is robust. You say these words with the same voice that moved markets for 14 years. The stock drops another 8% before the cameras even cool. The words do not work anymore. The voice does not work anymore. The gorilla is speaking and the market is not listening. Korean Development Bank calls. They want to buy Lehman. A lifeline, a way out. Their offer, $6 billion. Your bank was worth $45 billion 18 months ago. You reject it. Too low. Insulting. This is not a rescue. This is a surrender. And you do not surrender. You believe the world needs Lehman too much to let it die. 158 years of history does not vanish. Not like this. Not on your watch. On the trading floor, something has changed. The noise is different. Quieter. The confidence that hummed through this building for 158 years is thinning. A senior trader on the 14th floor has been here 22 years. His retirement is 100% Lehman stock. His daughter starts college in September. He watches the ticker. He does the math. He stops doing the math. 25,000 people with their savings tied to a stock that is falling, and they are not allowed to sell. They do not say anything, because saying it out loud would make it real. The cracks are no longer rumors in hallways. They are on every screen, every headline, every trading floor in the world. You still believe you can hold this together. You have survived everything before, every crash, every correction, every panic. But this is not a crack anymore. This is a fracture, and fractures do not ask. They spread. Level 4, the denial. The fractures spread. You do not look down. Summer 2008. Lehman stock, $16, down 80% from its peak. Your traders are leaving, quietly clearing desks after market close. Every Monday morning, another desk empty, another screen dark. The building getting quieter the way hospitals get quiet when the prognosis changes. Bank of America calls. Merger discussion. You counter with terms that value Lehman at 3 times what the market says it is worth. They stop calling. Warren Buffett calls. Willing to put real capital in. Survival capital. You negotiate like a man selling a mansion. He sees a house already on fire. Buffett walks away. When he walked away, he did not just take his money, he took the last piece of credibility Lehman had left. Every hand reaching toward you is the wrong one. Every exit feels like surrender. You are the gorilla. You built this. You will save it yourself. Nobody around you believes that anymore. Your senior executives meet privately. 30th floor, 1 floor below your office. Delusional, reckless, dangerous. They lower their voices when your name comes up. Nobody confronts you. The culture of silence you built for 14 years is still working perfectly. Even now, the one system that never breaks is the one that is killing you. Earnings call. You say the worst is behind us. The stock drops 7% during the call, not after, during. At home that night, your wife asks if everything is okay. You say yes. The same word that used to move billions now cannot convince the woman sitting next to you. Friday, September 12th. The sun sets on 158 years of history. This is the last time you leave this building as a king, and this time, nobody will be calling to save you. Level 5, the weekend Friday, September 12th, 6 p.m. Markets close. Your stock, $3.65. 18 months ago, it was $86. Tim Geithner calls. Emergency meeting, Federal Reserve Building. Every major bank CEO in the room. You are not invited. You are the agenda. Friday, 9 p.m. Your office, same glass, same desk. Tonight, the city looks like it belongs to someone else. You have 48 hours to save 158 years. Saturday, 6 a.m. No sleep. Cold coffee, same shirt. A name surfaces, Barclays. Interested, not committed. For 6 hours, there is a chance. Then it starts slipping. Saturday, 11 p.m. British regulators block the deal. Barclays cannot acquire without approval. The approval is not coming. The last door closes. Not a sound, a feeling. The kind that starts in your chest and does not move. Sunday, 1 a.m. Hank Paulson. One message. No public money for Lehman Brothers. 6 months ago, they saved Bear Stearns. You thought you were too big to fail. You found out you were just big enough to be an example. You stopped checking the numbers, because the numbers stop meaning anything. No one is coming. Sunday, 6 a.m., boardroom. Same mahogany table. 14 years in this chair. Every person did what you said. Now they are telling you what to do. Sign the papers. Chapter 11. Largest bankruptcy in American history. The pen is heavier than anything you have ever carried. Sunday, 11 p.m. Everyone gone. You sit alone. The silence is not the powerful kind from level 1. It is the kind that settles over things already gone. You call your wife. She answers on the first ring. You do not say much. She does not ask much. The silence says everything the word yes never could. You walk out of 745 7th Avenue. The building is still standing, but you are finally just a man again. Monday arrives quietly and erases 158 years in a single breath. Level 6, the fall. Monday, September 15th, 1:45 a.m. Chapter 11 filed. $613 billion. Largest bankruptcy in American history. 7 a.m. Employees arrive. Security guards where receptionists used to smile. HR handing out paperwork. Effective immediately. The senior trader from the 14th floor. 22 years. Daughter starting college. Portfolio worth zero. Every dollar, every year, every time he chose loyalty over leaving. Gone. In a single breath. Just like Monday promised. Dow drops 504 points. London crashes. Tokyo crashes. Hong Kong crashes. Banks stop lending. Credit freezes. Retirement funds across 40 countries collapse. One bank, one decision, one man's refusal to let go. The worst recession since 1929, October 6th, Capitol Hill. The gorilla in a chair he did not choose. Cameras he cannot turn off. They ask what happened. Full responsibility. They ask about leverage. Risk management was robust. They ask about $484 million in bonuses while the bomb was being built, in line with industry standards. A congressman asks if you understand the suffering you caused. You say terrible. Criminal charges, 0. Prison time, 0. Personal wealth kept, $500 million. 3 months before bankruptcy, you sold your $13 million mansion to your wife for $100. The senior trader lost everything. His daughter's college fund, his 22 years. You kept the mansion for the price of a coffee. $2 bought Bear Stearns. $100 bought your mansion. 0 bought your freedom. Today, a different logo sits on 745 7th Avenue, Barclays. The building is still standing, but the world it helped destroy is still trying to wake up. The system does not punish the people who build it. It punishes the people who believe in it. The cycle. Somewhere in Manhattan, glass tower, new name on the wall, different bank, same architecture. A 24-year-old analyst walks in. Badge works on the second try. 3 monitors. Bloomberg glowing green. He is hungry. He is certain. He reminds someone of someone. The leverage ratio is climbing. 28 to 1, then 30. The models say manageable. The models have never been wrong before. Everything looks stable from this height. The analyst runs the numbers. They make sense, on paper. He does not know about the trader who lost 22 years. The woman who carried a box past a 150th anniversary photo. The CEO who sold his mansion for $100. He does not know what the system actually rewards. But he will find out. They always do. The building is still standing. The name is different. The leverage is the same. Only the people are new. The machine does not learn. It does not remember. It does not apologize. It just gets new parts.